I'm here with none other than Saint Flono. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Blessed and highly favored. So, I hear you have a few projects that are coming out that you're working on. Can
I
you tell us
do.
a little bit about it?
Yes, the first one is I'm working on a new opera entitled Spirit and the Vine. I've been working on this project passionately since about 2013, and it has changed and grown. And I have gone through many personal things in life that have also altered the art. And now I'm finally in a place with a wonderful collaborator, my friend James Dargan, who is the composer.
Shout out to James.
Shout out to James. And we're in a position to finally bring it to life with a workshop performance through a residency at a program called High Arts, which is located here in the city, and it gives
Which city?
the city of New York.
Uh-huh.
It gives they give money and opportunity, time and space to people of the global majority who are working on new forms of art that are community engaged, and who are at a critical phase in the development of their work. And so that'll be taking up most of my time for the month of May.
Yay! Well, I'm so excited for you and
Thank you.
proud of you. So, what can audience members expect to see from your upcoming opera workshop?
Oh, well, this is an original epic fairy tale based in a series of original mythologies that I've been working on. Because in addition to being a librettist, I'm also the story creator. And it takes place in a secondary realm, and so there are invented languages and peoples and societies, and all of it is based on traditional African American folklore. It sort of pulls from those realms and has expanded it into a much wider world. And I guess one really powerful thing people can expect from Spirit and the Vine is, to be quite honest, a chance to see Black singers portraying mythological heroes and magical beings without there needing to be a overtly political situation from our primary world as the focus of the drama.
You mean it's not just Black trauma?
No.
What?
No, I don't do that.
Wow.
I don't do that. I think I mean, trauma and opera go hand in hand,
Right.
but I think we have really regressed in our ideas about what the Black artist is capable of doing in a musical dramatic context.
I'm going to turn that on its head and I'm going to say we're progressing because you
Okay.
are writing something
Yeah.
that, subverts that, or it does the opposite. It shows
Yes.
off Black people in a less typical light.
Yes.
And I, for one, am excited
Thank you.
to see Black people play some mystical creatures.
Yes.
Okay?
There are fairies in this opera. I did a lot of research into fairy folklore outside of Europe, so I focused a lot on fairy folklore in Africa and North America. There are sorcerers, there are demons, there are dragons, there's so many
Wow.
wonderful things. And I guess when you turned it on its head, I completely agree with you. I guess when I said regressing, I guess I was talking about perhaps the perception from the people who are typically in charge of how new operas get funded and produced, ideas about what is and is not a sellable way to have Black audiences on stage. I think we've gotten so used to the Black artists only being on Catfish Row that anything outside of that is treated as too much of a stretch for some people. I mean, this opera Spirit and the Vine as a piece of work is, the perception of it has been, can I speak candidly?
Yeah.
Recently, I had the pleasure of meeting a Black composer who wrote a quintet, and he was telling me about some of his experiences in trying to get an agent for his work as a conductor also. And he was told in no certain terms by a white agent that he was uncomfortable because he felt that he was a Black man trying to be white musically.
What does that mean?
And I think it's because his music does not necessarily draw specifically from African American musical idioms. uh, which is okay. I don't think it's it's not a requirement. Um, but it was definitely presumptuous. Um, I don't think that the black artist has to conform to any sort of type. We can express ourselves in any musical idiom we so choose.
Yep.
And yes, I'll get off that soapbox.
This is what makes me excited about Black artists and their creations within the canon of opera, or creations within the performance practice of opera, because when it seems like classical music or some classical music taste bearers have defined the genre by what it excludes, Black people have always been open to. They didn't really have a choice but to bring themselves into that art form. So I'm really excited to see, like the opera you're working on, it has, African American folk music, and we have Inman Ford's opera where he is incorporating house music, which is a Black music. I've seen reggae operas and hip operas and things like that, and I'm really happy to just see Black artists just do what they feel they need to do to express themselves in this art form.
Yes, and with Spirit in the Vine, the music is this really conscious blend of spirituals as well as Baroque idioms. So there's this interplay between what was going on this side of the pond musically, and also what was going on in Europe musically, and how those two traditions can connect and intersect through different use of things, pentatonic scales and hemiolas, etc., etc., etc. But it's done in such a way where it doesn't sound like, from my ears and from the performers as we've worked through this workshop, the music sounds cohesive, because the music that the composer has set forth is not separate from the internal world. Like I'm like getting lower and lower. It's not separate from the internal world of the drama. And I feel that sometimes with some newer operas, the librettist, the composer, and the world of the drama are in three different realms. And in this case, we really made a concerted effort to have them all be part of one realm. And it's been easy to do it because the source material is entirely from my own imagination. So if he has questions, all the composer has to do is ask me.
Part of your world or realm. What advice would you give to artists who encounter your words and or music for the first time?
Ooh, what advice I would give?
Like what things should they look out for? Which things?
They should approach anything that I create as though it's old.
I love that.
Yes.
Do you have two separate answers, or is it just for everything?
I think that's for everything. They should approach it as though this is a composer librettist from a bygone era, and I'm trying to say this in a way where my new music prejudice doesn't show up, but they should not approach it as though it is new music.
Okay.
Because sometimes I feel that with certain new works, singers and instrumentalists are really unsure of the texture that they're supposed to be performing with unless the composer is there to inform them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I notice there is a tendency, even in when I've worked with new things, to sort of bulldoze through things. But for example, when I was working with the instrumentalist in my cantata, during our reading on April 13th, all the instrumentalists in the room were playing it and playing, they're playing the right notes. But immediately I told them it needs to be with a more Baroque sensibility. They were like, and it also shows up in the way that I constructed the harmonies and with, ties across the bar line, don't wobble the cadence to smithereens, as my musical father, Tyrone Clinton, says. Words. Ooh. Someone approaching my words for the first time. I think it applies here as well. Approach my words as though they're old, as though the poet is no longer living. there should be a sense of reverence because I'm very deliberate about word choice and word play. I love homonyms. And I love very smooth vowel transitions. Those are things I really prize. I prize a lot. So anyone who's approaching my work should approach them from a place of beauty. Do not rush. We have a tendency in the modern world to really rush through things. And my work as a librettist has always been about literally stopping to smell the roses. So allow the fragrance, allow each word to impart a fragrance to you in the learning of the text as it did in my creation of the text.
That was so poetic.
Oh,
I love that.
Thank you.
Also, thank you for mentioning that. I try not to go on tirades, at least on camera, about today's performance practices. But I will say that's something that I often desire more of, is giving the audience some time to digest the words instead of, setting the music so quickly to where I have to read the subtitles. I'm that person. I don't want to read the subtitles. I should know. I should get a good sense of what's going on by just watching, because the drama of the music is like it not only
it's holding space.
Not only holds space, but it warns of what's coming, or maybe not. If that's dramatically necessary. And when the drama physically is clear, I can tell from the back seat of the opera house that you're mad at somebody because you got your hand in there getting ready to slap them.
Yes.
Or I can tell you're ashamed because you got your hand on your head and you're like,
And that's the drama portion.
And going back to what you said about Baroque practice, we talk about the castrati and their performance practice and how a lot of their stage stuff was based off of poses. They had certain poses, but those poses made it clear
what was happening,
what kind of emotional state they were in.
Yes, opera owes pretty much everything to the castrati in terms of how to perform. And shout out to them.
Shout out to them and those milk baths.
Vicidarte. Because shout out to them. No, truly. Taking one's time with the text. Like, we did a table read for Spirit and Vine on Saturday, and it was really wonderful to hear opera singers actually sit down and read the libretto. I don't even know if that's common practice.
It depends on who's doing it.
To have the singers actually read the text aloud as
together.
though it were a play. Together. It made a complete difference. We stopped to laugh at certain points because there was a line they gave one of the singers that she had to triple take. When it came out of her mouth, she actually gagged and was like, "Wait, what?"